We actually do this quite often. I would say probably the largest number of samples that we alert people to are bones, and that's because we see ratios that aren't typical, whether it be the carbon-nitrogen ratio, percent nitrogen, percent carbon, C13 ratio, or so forth, or the sample just pre-treated very poorly. Samples that we cannot give full pretreatments to. Say we get a piece of charcoal in and we can only give it acid because it starts to dissolve on alkali. So we would alert the client to that. We don't necessarily tell them they shouldn't date it, but we advise them to the fact that, look, this is what we've observed, this is what is typical, therefore your sample is not behaving typically, and since we couldn't give it alkali, if it's found in a humic-rich environment, a very wet environment, things like that, then here's the things that could possibly affect the date. Probably it's going to be too young if it's not accurate. Bones and things are a little bit more tough to deal with because you can get ratios that aren't normal, but that just means that the collagen's been degraded. It doesn't mean it's been contaminated or replaced. It just means that it's been lost over time. So, you know, if we find coal, for example, we would tell the client, this looks like coal or asphaltum. We don't recommend you date it because if you do, you're probably going to get an age that's, you know, infinitely old or way too old. So there are some instances, we never refuse to run a sample for a client. It's always their final decision, but we try to give them as much information as possible so they can make an intelligent decision. And we have had some people tell us, well, there's no coal in the area, go ahead and run it. And we get a 50,000-year-old date, and they say, geez, I guess there must be coal in the area. So, sometimes people decide against our warnings to go ahead and do it, and then they have to accept those results as they are.